Hi, everyone. It's me, Tim. Today, I want to talk about how to receive criticism. I basically want to talk to you about what you should do when people are being critical of your work or even your opinions. Now, if you've watched this channel at all, you know that I do not think my games are perfect. Far from it. I'm not just talking about the bugs that are in them. And there were some doozies. There were some, pretty horrific crash bugs and slowdowns. But I'm talking about even the design bugs that were present in the game when they shipped that I didn't even like when they shipped. And I think I've talked about things, in Fallout and Arcanum that I didn't like when they went out the door. Some of them we changed, like the timer in Fallout, and some of them never got to change because they were never prioritized, and that would be like how much spells cost in Arcanum, and even just the whole spell system needed a balancing pass. And you may be thinking, well, how could the game ship with you not liking those things if you were the one in charge or one of the people in charge? And I've tried to answer that in different ways. The biggest reason that games go out with things that the designers don't like is priority. At some point, you run out of time, and by that I really mean you run out of money. And you just have to ship. And when that point approaches, you prioritize things. So for most of my games, we were prioritizing fixing literal crash bugs and any bugs that prevented you from finishing the game. So if we weren't fixing crash bugs, we were fixing bugs that could get people halted on the main story quest line, or things that would happen if you made a build a certain way and then suddenly you find out you couldn't advance. Those are the things that I prioritized. But it still means that things shipped the way I didn't want them to. It's also the case that some of my games were so big and just had so many things in them. And by things I'm saying items, the text on the items, or the icons on the items, or lines in dialogue, or names of things. Just, you don't see everything that ships in a game. You can play it a dozen times. I think I played Outer Worlds 16 times, but you still don't see everything. And if you don't see it, you can't make a change in it. And that's the second reason. But the third reason things ship with things that I don't like is it's not true that I'm in charge of everything. I've never made a game where I had 100% final approval on everything that was in there. I didn't want e-registration in Fallout. I didn't want the Temple of Trials in Fallout 2. Every one of my games had something in it that pretty much someone told me to put in, or that someone put in and then wouldn't let me take out. So I'm just saying, if you plan to get into game development, or if you already are, you're going to make a game that ships with something in it that you don't like. And then once it ships, a lot of people won't like it, and they're going to start making critiques. So this is sort of a video on what you should do with that criticism. In a way, you can view this as a companion video to the one I made on giving good feedback, which I'll link below, or as a companion video to any of the 3 videos I made on how I would remake some of my games. I did one on Fallout, one on Arcanum, and one on Temple of Elemental Evil. And if you look at those videos, they're full of things that those games shipped with that I didn't like, and things I'd want to change if I were to make them today. So, what is my advice on receiving criticism? Listen to it. Read all the reviews that come out on your game, and read comments that people leave on Steam and other game forums. You don't have to follow all of it. In fact, not all of those criticisms are going to be good. Some of them aren't even going to be right. People make some of the oddest criticisms that just make you go, that person's having a bad day, or the lens they choose to view the world made them look at this game in a way that it's saying something that it's not. But if you do see a lot of frequent criticism of particular features of your game, there's probably something wrong there. And like I've said before, those people may not have a good idea of how to fix it, but they can certainly smell out that something's wrong. Also, they're often talk about what they did like about the game, so you learn a really balanced thing about this is what people like doing, and then this wasn't fun to do at all. Now, I've seen a lot of game developers basically make the argument of game development's hard, implying that hard work is above critique. And I see other developers make this mistake all the time. They read a review and they're like, I'd like to see this reviewer make a game. He's never made a game before in his life. How dare he review mine? It's what reviewers do. Customers gonna review your game too. It's what customers do. They review product. I even was once told at work, I got pulled aside and I was told, hey, look, that guy worked really hard on the feature. Don't critique it. And this was in a game I was, quote, the final word on, I was responsible for. And when I was told that, I remember just looking at the person who told me, who technically was my boss. He was above me in the chain. And I just said, look, effort does not equal greatness. I appreciate the effort, even if I don't like the result. But we can't leave this in the game. It's got to be fixed. And that idea that if someone worked really hard on something, you shouldn't critique it, things just don't work that way. Now, you can be careful how you phrase your critique. And I think your critique will be received better if you phrase it. But you have to be aware, because I've worked with some people like this, no matter how you phrase it, they will always take the critique badly. They will talk about how hard the work was, or how bad the design specification was, or there will be whatever reason to deflect away from the fact that the final product isn't good. And by the way, this applies not just to game developers, to the people who comment on YouTube channels, including this one. I see some very bizarre comments, and then when people reply saying, I don't think the game says that, or I'm not sure that's what they intended, or are you sure you're not reading into that? People will state their opinion, and I've said this before, they state their opinion like it's fact. And all I can say to people like that is you don't come across as a very thoughtful person, and you will be rightfully critiqued if you just state your opinion like it's engraved in stone. And I actually enjoy watching that happen. So it amuses me that somebody can be so sure that their opinion is right that they just are like, here it is, engraved in stone. Because even the stuff I'm giving on this channel is just advice. And it's pretty narrow advice. It's like, hey, you want to get into game development? You want to make RPGs? You want to make non-linear RPGs? That's what this advice is for. So, if you've watched the video up to this point, I hope you understand what my advice is for receiving critique. It was one word. Listen. That's all you have to do. You just have to listen to the critique, listen to the feedback. You can aggregate it, see if there's a lot of commonalities. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's out in left field. You don't have to act on every bit of feedback, but if you're getting a lot of the same feedback, you probably do want to act on it. Anyway, so that's my advice on how to receive critique. Listen to it.